Bobby.
Yo.
Miss Bobbington. Bobbing and weaving.
I like that one.
This is our season 1 finale. Technically episode 22 of season 1.
22 episodes already. That's
Is
hard
it,
to
yeah,
believe.
Isn't
It
that
doesn't
crazy?
feel like 22.
It doesn't feel like that at all.
I'm having a lot of fun doing these. It's really cool.
I'm really enjoying these. You know, the thing that takes the most time is researching all this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm really like, even when the subjects have been miserable, I've been really enjoying just learning things and finding out stuff, especially things that none of the comment sections seem to know or news articles even miss, things like that. I love learning that kind of stuff. And sometimes it takes a lot of digging and sometimes it takes talking to certain people, but you find there are ways to find out very interesting things. Bobby, how have you felt so far doing the podcast?
I'm having a good time. I mean, you're doing a lot of work. I'm just kind of sitting here screwing around listening to you talk, but I'm enjoying it. I mean, I think it's a good way to spend the day, and I hope everybody's getting some information out of here, or at least, a chuckle or two, maybe.
Yeah.
But,
So as our season 1 finale, I have no meme for you to look at.
What?
Yeah, no
Whoa.
meme. Can you believe it?
Whoa.
No meme.
The season finale is going to blow everybody's mind.
That's right.
No meme. This is meaningless. How can we not have a meme?
This is just memeless is what it is.
Whoa.
So what we're doing instead is I am going to do some updates, clarifications, and a couple of corrections for our past episodes.
Just kind of wrap up the season a little bit.
Yeah, just kind of wrap everything up with
Sounds good.
maybe some unanswered questions and stuff. Now, nobody has pointed out anything that I have gotten wrong, but I have found out a couple of things that I got wrong.
Well, that just means our listeners are a bunch of slackers.
No.
Shame on you guys.
No. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the podcast, but it's on me if anything is wrong. And so a lot of times after we record these episodes, I re-listen to them, just, make sure they sound good and everything.
Sure. Yeah, I always listen to our episodes.
Yeah. And sometimes something will stick out to me that maybe was said off the cuff or maybe even was part of the script, and I'm like, where did I get that information from? And I'll revet that source, and then, because I have all my sources at the end of my notes and everything, which I should start including on our episode descriptions, and I probably will soon. I'll add all the source material.
Sure.
But sometimes I go back into a source and I think, well, was this really a reliable source? It might be popular, it might be well known, but occasionally they get stuff wrong. And I can't just regurgitate what they say because sometimes the facts are not what they seem. So first off, I did promise I would share the point of the Eggo part of the last meme.
Yes, I'm dying to know.
Of course, quote, Lego my Eggo originally came from the Eggo commercials and in fact has been used as a slang term to tell off moochers, essentially people who will take from you and not give much back.
Okay.
You could say, Lego my Eggo,
Okay.
That kind of
makes
response.
sense. I get that.
Yeah.
Okay.
However, it became a recent meme trend because of a screenshot of Eleven in Stranger Things using her powers to hurt someone with freezer doors when they tried to take her Eggos. The joke is that the person in the meme is doing something violent and is somehow unhinged and overreacting to something as trivial as, like, freezer waffles.
Freezer waffles are not trivial.
They're pretty good, though. I do,
yeah. Okay.
As long as they're not freezer burnt, they're pretty good.
Even freezer burnt, they're still all right.
Brandy eats them all the time.
I love a freezer waffle. Love them.
I'll have to admit I do, too.
Yeah.
I haven't had them in a long time, but...
they're just so tasty and convenient.
So I just wanted to explain the Eggo thing because I promised in the previous episode that I would. I just didn't... For the last episode, I just didn't care to explain it because I wanted the focus not to be on the joke, but on the subject.
Okay.
Because of what it turned out to be. Because of how the story unfolded. And we may end up doing a follow-up to that last episode, which is titled Spits on Kyle. Because I've been contacted by several people claiming to be connected to the events. A couple of whom I know actually were so far.
Yeah, it's interesting to get feedback.
It's cool though.
Yeah.
It's cool because I was thanked by a couple of people about how that podcast episode was put together. And I think it's because not a lot of people were focused on the truth. They were focused on that one little video. They were giving knee-jerk reactions without really understanding the situation.
Well, that video is basically the exact opposite of reality.
I think it is important that, that we pay attention to details and then we learn the details, or at least have somebody like me learn the details to help other people, understand them as well.
Right. Yeah. You teach me things.
But we'll see if that follow episode does happen. It just depends on how much more I learn. I will say, though, one person who I trust so far told me that, do you remember when I said, and if you're going to listen to that episode, which I kind of recommend you do, it's a good episode,
It
but
was very good.
the disturbing content. So
Yeah.
you're not going to go away feeling happy about it,
No.
but at least the truth is, at least it's an honest story. It's an honest recounting of things, and I do have some verification from people personally connected who said that is how things went down. But there was one detail that I sort of reveal, I guess, later on in the episode, and that is that something that a lot of news articles and comment sections and things like that missed was that Scott, the guy with the gun in the video, who shot Kyle Spitz, blamed his hip injury on Kyle. Turns out Scott connecting his hip injury to Kyle wasn't just because of Kyle totaling Scott's car, but because Kyle physically pushed Scott down during an altercation and Scott injured his hip in the fall.
Oh, jeez.
How fucked up is that? So, moving on, I have some more clarifications and more corrections. Not really that many corrections, but just mostly clarifications that I would like to make to some past episodes. And we're going to start first with the Trayvon Martin episode.
Oh, okay.
I had said off the cuff that George Zimmerman was in witness protection. That was not part of my script. That was just something I heard. I should not have said that because I had only heard it from other people and I didn't source that information. The truth is actually so much worse.
Uh-oh.
But before I dig into that, I want to briefly address something that I wanted to add some elaboration to.
Okay.
I said in that episode that it's unclear who is screaming for help in the background of the 911 call that the neighbor made. Was it George Zimmerman? Was it Trayvon Martin? I said was unclear. That's accurate because there is a debate and controversy around it. And the courts ruled that it couldn't found to be conclusive. But what I wanted to add was that Trayvon's mother and brother say that they are certain that that's Trayvon's voice calling for help.
Okay.
And that information is important.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't exactly sound like George Zimmerman killed him in self-defense if the kid is screaming for help.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of against the story a little bit.
Yes. Yeah. It would be pretty damning.
Yeah.
For sure. So George Zimmerman was not in witness protection, but quite the opposite. He used his infamy to become some sort of disgusting public figure who I think should be publicly flogged. Let's go over a very not witness protect Zimmerman and his transgressions. Now, this list will be infuriating, but at a few points, kind of hilarious.
Okay.
We'll start with some infuriating things. Zimmerman largely espoused the far right's embrace of him and the fame that came with it. He did many interviews with right-wing and far-right defenders of his, and by all accounts was profiting off of his killing of a 17-year-old kid.
Sure.
Now, I understand. Just because a kid is 17 doesn't mean he can't be a threat. And if you were attacked by that person and you did anything you could to defend yourself, that would make sense. But say a 17-year-old attacks you and you kill him in self-defense. And it is cut and dry. You absolutely killed him in self-defense. Would you be going around trying to make yourself famous over it?
Probably not.
No. A normal person would feel miserable about that. I would be glad that I defended myself. I would be glad that I'm alive.
Right.
but I couldn't make a spectacle out of that. Like I could not take pride in the fact that I killed somebody, you know?
Probably not. No. I mean,
And a normal person shouldn't.
No.
Absolutely not.
That would. I don't know how I'd react to something like that. If I actually killed somebody, you know, like if they're coming at me, you know, you got to defend yourself. You do what you can to survive.
Yeah.
But I don't think I would ever be proud of it.
Yeah, and
Like, that's just kind of messed up.
definitely not trying to become famous off of it, you know?
Probably not. No, I mean, I
That's
can't
just-
understand. I can't think of a situation where I would want to promote that. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, I might come to your house in a bad mood to be like, Nate, you're never gonna believe what happened to me today.
Oh yeah.
You know,
yeah.
that kind of thing.
You would have to talk about
Yeah,
it. For
you'd
sure.
have to
You would have
vent,
it would have
let
to
that
come
out, you know. But man, I could never imagine being, you know, trying to promote that, you know, trying to be like, hey, guess what I did today?
Yeah,
You know, that
yeah,
kind of deal.
or like going on, you know, news shows and doing
Yeah.
interviews and stuff. Like, yep, I'm the person who killed that 17-year-old. Like,
You're like, that was me.
I just
No,
it's insane. It's
that's
crazy.
Kind of messed up, yeah.
And to make matters worse, 4 years after murdering Trayvon, he sold the weapon that he killed Trayvon with. So he sold his murder weapon in an auction. Now, if you look into this, you'll see a lot of headlines which read that Zimmerman's handgun sold for a number of different prices.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
So I wanted to look into the auctions themselves. Yes, plural, auctions.
Just out of curiosity, what was the most price, the highest
We're,
price? Do you
we're
remember?
getting to that. So, like, when you look into different headlines, you'll see his handgun selling for a number of different prices. And because of that ambiguity, I wanted to look into the auctions themselves.
Well, I mean, guns aren't that expensive, are they? Buy like 5 or 6 of them. How's anybody going to prove it wasn't the right one?
Yeah. Well, one of the places that Zimmerman was auctioning off his gun is a website called United Gun Group.
Okay.
The auction got a lot of attention and was much hotter than expected. Now, the gun that Zimmerman used to murder Trayvon Martin was a Kel-Tec 9mm PF9, which normally sold for about $350 around that time.
Okay.
During the auction, not during when he killed. The auction took place around, it was in May of 2016.
Okay.
Bobby, I want you to guess this $350 gun. I want you to guess, according to several news sources, what the top bid in this auction was.
10,000.
Higher.
Wow, really? Okay. 50,000.
Higher.
Seriously?
This is the top bid, according
Oh.
to several news sources.
You people are awful. You're willing to pay over 50,000. 75.
Higher.
100,000?
Bobby, the highest bid recorded on United Gun Group, according to news sources, $65 million.
65 million for a gun that killed somebody.
So, the bidders on this website, they have screen names.
Of course they do, yeah.
And the person who made this bid had a screen name, which was Racist McShootface. And the account was immediately deleted, making the bid invalid and clear that they were just fucking with him.
Racist McShootface?
And they were fucking with
Wow.
the whole auction. Like,
Wow.
best troll ever.
Oh my
Best
god.
troll ever.
What was the bid?
65 million.
Oh,
Racist
man.
McShootface. They make a bid of 65 million, immediately delete their account.
Yeah. So they
Just
just
to
they
fuck
just
with the
wanted to
auction.
get in there. And, yeah. Okay.
And I saw one there was a news
Racist McShootface.
there was a
Great name.
There's a news site doing live updates of it, and when the $65 million bid came up,
Yeah.
the reaction in the live updates said, "Looks like trolls have hijacked the auction."
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. Oh my god.
Oh, that's so good though. Oh my
wow,
god.
racist McShootface. That's It's awful, but it's kind of funny.
It's funny because it's making fun of fucking George Zimmerman.
Yeah.
And the people behind it, I think, turned out to be like an activist group. I didn't look into them enough because we've got enough to go over on this episode.
Yeah.
And if I do look into them, maybe we'll have another episode to do.
So, do you know before Racist McShootface what was the highest bid?
Well, we're actually going to get to how the bid played out, how the auction played out.
All right.
So let's look at a fairly reputable source. You know, since there seems to be some ambiguity as to how much the gun actually sold for.
Right.
This is from BBC News.
Okay.
The headline reads, "Gun that killed Trayvon Martin makes $250,000 for Zimmerman."
Wow.
So let's look at the source that BBC used. Quote, "The handgun used to kill unarmed black teenager Trayvon Martin in 2012 has been sold for $250,000, U.S. media say." Okay, so the BBC is just doing journalistic hearsay. So I wanted to look into the, quote, U.S. media claims, and I found prices all over the place. But according to the auction itself, so the website itself, the final bid was $189,900.
Nice.
Yeah, no, it's not nice.
No, I wish I had something to sell for that.
Which seems like the final answer until Zimmerman said he was still verifying offers. And then TV news reports out of Nevada were saying that he claimed to have sold the gun for $250,000. And ultimately, I don't fucking care at this point. He sold a murder weapon and profited from it. Although he claims to have donated the money or claimed he was going to. And even if he did donate it, the causes that he said he would donate to were to fight against Black Lives Matter violence on police and to oppose Hillary Clinton. The entire thing was gross, and the best thing to come out of it, the best moment to come out of this whole thing, the only great thing to come out of it was Racist McShootface. That was the only thing. That troll was fantastic. But looking into this provided a great example of how misinformation gets spread everywhere, even in seemingly reputable sources. In fact, The Guardian, which is considered to be a very reputable source by multiple fact-checking sites and watchdogs and things like that, they reported that Racist McShootface's bid was $137,600, which would put him at second place and pushing the price up to that $138,900. Now, that $138,900 might have happened anyway, even if the report from The Guardian is true. That $138,900 probably would have still happened because it happened at the last minute of the auction. But The Guardian was the only place where I could find that price. So it's difficult to know what to believe. And again, I don't give a shit. He sold his murder weapon and made money off of it. That should not be legal.
No.
And it's shameful for the entire country. Zimmerman was also accused of domestic violence multiple times. He became divorced. He was selling a god-awful, atrocious piece of quote-unquote art that he created, which looks like a fucking child made it with his offhand. And I want you to look at this stupid fucking thing.
All right.
This is a dumb thing that he sold and he was proud of. For listeners, it's a dumb fucking Confederate flag.
Yeah, Confederate flag, yeah.
And
definitely.
it says the second protects our first. It's the stupid Southern nonsense, you know, and like, you know, I don't say Southern, well, I don't want to mean everybody in the South. It's this Southern ideology that people have sort of tarnished people from the South with, because the thing is, every time I have traveled to, well, except for once in Alabama, but almost every time I've traveled south, the people there have been very cool, very polite.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, great people, especially in Texas. Like, in Austin, in San Antonio.
Okay.
The most polite people I've ever met.
Really? Okay.
And
yeah, because we went to a place in Georgia. I can't remember exactly where we went, but this, you know, it was crazy because Southern hospitality seems to be an actual thing.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely
It's crazy.
is.
I thought it was one of those myths to be like, oh, the
Yeah.
South people are very nice. And be like, no, you go South, they're nice.
They're crazy fucking
it's
nice.
It's just crazy. And Southern hospitality is a thing.
Yeah, and yes, you are going to see more racist propaganda. You are going to see some Confederate flags and things like that. But for the most part, my experience with Southerners has been fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, especially like, and when I went to San Antonio, I've been there twice, and each time the people were so polite that I thought they wanted something from me. You know,
Yeah, it makes you suspicious in a way.
like being from
what
the
do you want?
yeah,
Looking for a donation or something? What the hell?
You know, like spend too much time in the Chicago area, and you're going to start to suspect everybody who's nice to you.
Yeah,
you
right.
know? So he was also accused of changing for the worst by the people who knew him best. He was called a powder keg ready to explode.
Okay.
On the 5th anniversary of Martin's death, he did an interview with an alt-right white nationalist hate group called We Searcher. Now, they probably don't call themselves a white nationalist hate group, but the Southern Poverty Law Center does call them that.
Okay.
Zimmerman is an awful piece of shit. But another thing that I find funny, he's been kicked off 2 dating websites.
How do you get kicked off a dating website?
Well, okay, so
gosh.
in his case, he was using an alias, which is
okay.
not allowed.
No.
And he got kicked off of Bumble and Tinder, but he was using an alias, like he was using a fake name. I think it was Carter was the name.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's just, oh God, I find that funny. But moving on, in the episode titled "Does Your Willie Style Matter?"
That's a good title.
I was proud of that title.
That was good.
Yeah. I said we would likely do a follow-up on some of the Will Smith memes that I had seen circulating at the time. Well, I looked into the meaning behind some of them, and some of them were just old things that were being brought up again, and some were more current. And I did find some misinformation that I found evidence to debunk. But most of what I was learning was just personal stuff about Will Smith. And a lot of it was tabloidy nonsense that's just not my thing. And I don't think it's appropriate for this podcast.
No.
None of it turned out to be worth prying into, except for maybe one possible thing I was noticing, and I don't think I'm alone in noticing it. So an episode may still happen if this thing surfaces again and I'm seeing a bunch of lying memes about it, but for now I'm not going to touch it because one, it's just digging into his personal life for no reason, and although there are transgressors, there are bad actors involved in some of the situations, Will Smith himself would probably not. He doesn't deserve an expose on anything that's going on in his life because I don't think he's done much wrong except for being part of the Church of Scientology. And I have my things that I'm not going to say about them because they have a tendency to sue and even make people disappear. Oh no, I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Religion is such a crazy thing anyway. I mean, everybody's allowed to have their own ideas, and I know.
Yeah, the Scientology. Anyway, I'm not touching it. I'm not touching that one for now.
It's a personal thing.
For now, I'm not touching it. And the subject matter doesn't have to do with Scientology,
right?
But I'm just not touching it because it's tabloid shit.
Right.
And it messes with his personal life, and I don't think that's fair to him. So
no.
Moving on, in the episode, was Martin Luther King actually suffocated by a doctor? I mentioned that Dr. Pecker represented James Earl Ray. Now, that's true. But I should have clarified that while he was Ray's attorney, it wasn't during the assassination trial wherein Ray had pled guilty to murdering Martin Luther King. But he was Ray's attorney later on and even represented Ray in a mock trial of the mock assassination trial where he defended Ray against the accusations. I know people will want to argue that this must mean that he connected with the family of Martin Luther King because he wanted to find the real killer, that kind of thing. But there's still a tremendous conflict of interest no matter how you look at this. And if you look at Pepper's track record, this is just another thing in a line of absurd conspiracies. And I was wrong about the requested sum. You remember how I said they sued for just $1?
Yeah.
I was wrong about that.
Uh-oh.
I was way off.
Oh, shame on you.
I know. Bobby, guess how much I was off by?
$10.
Worse.
Oh, $100?
Exactly.
Oh.
They sued for $100. Now, this is a small fact and it seems negligible, but I thought it should be corrected. But the point I made still stands. If you are out to make a statement or get attention, you lower the threshold.
Mm-hmm.
And no one was going to be found criminally liable in this trial, so no risk was involved, really. It was just a plea for the family to get more investigation into the case, which I understand.
Oh, yeah.
But no compelling evidence has come up. And if anybody says, quote, well, they convinced the jury, so it must have been compelling, they sued for $100, and Pepper had the jury sit through 70 witnesses, and no criminal charges were going to be brought anyway, so just don't even. Anyway, that wraps up season 1, but season 2 will start immediately. There's not going to be pause. We're not taking a break. We're just going to keep going.
Right.
If you find anything in any of the episodes of this podcast that you think is factually incorrect or needs further study, please email us. Our email is in our description. And I want to clarify, we as a podcast do not have a social media account. There was a Reddit page made for Meaningless. Feel free to follow it. I had a friend take it over, but he will not likely be moderating it because he, like me, doesn't have really any experience in doing that. So it's going to be a free-for-all. I don't know how that's going to turn out.
We'll find out in season 2.
Yeah, we will find out in season 2. Especially with the amount of attention we're getting.
Right.
But thank you all so much for listening. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
To tell off moochers,
Moochers. Yeah.
people who mooch.
Yeah.
I spelled it wrong here, so it fucked me up.
Oh.
God damn it, past me. I'm gonna kick that guy's ass one of these days.
He's so gonna get it.
It's also his fault when I have hangovers.
Past you always makes the worst decisions.
Yeah, what an asshole. He doesn't really seem to care about present me.
Mm-mm.
I mean, I don't give a shit about future me. That guy can fuck himself, but
Yeah, he's a real prick.
yeah.